The council chamber fell silent when Captain Marcus Webb removed his helmet. Not because of protocol, but because he shouldn't have been alive to remove it at all. "Impossible," hissed Ambassador Krethix, her chitinous plates rattling with agitation. "No one survives Vardo 7 unshielded. The radiation alone would kill most species within minutes," Marcus finished, rolling his shoulders. "Yeah, I read the briefing." Commander Javik of the Galactic Expeditionary Forces leaned forward, his three eyes narrowing in disbelief. For 2 cycles, the galaxy's finest warriors had tried to plant a territorial marker on Vardo 7. 12 species. 47 attempts. 0 successes. The planet was classified as a Class 2 Deathworld, unsurvivable even with military-grade environmental suits. The hulking Kragner berserkers, who could tear through starship hulls with their bare claws, had lasted 4 hours before the toxic atmosphere dissolved their armor seals. The crystalline Ethrians, who could survive in the vacuum of space, shattered in Vardo 7's crushing gravity fluctuations. Even the cybernetic Nexari, more machine than flesh, had their systems corrupted by the planet's electromagnetic storms. And yet this human stood before them, wearing nothing but a tattered jumpsuit and carrying a standard-issue territorial flag mounted on a pole of volcanic rock. "Explain yourself," Javik demanded. "Our sensors showed your pod's shields failing within the first hour." "You should be dead." Marcus shrugged. "Should be, yeah. Wasn't planning on it, though." He activated his wrist console, projecting a holographic recording of his 72 hours on Vardo 7. The council watched in horrified fascination. The footage began with Marcus's emergency descent. His shield generator had indeed failed, just as predicted. But instead of retreating, he'd sealed his suit manually and continued toward the surface. When atmospheric entry temperatures exceeded tolerances, he'd ejected early, deploying a makeshift parachute from his pod's debris. "The fall should have liquefied your internal organs," noted Dr. Vesim, the Correlation's chief medical officer. "Hurt like hell," Marcus admitted. "Blacked out twice. But I grew up in Earth's Appalachian region, learned to fall properly as a kid." The recording showed him hitting the ground, rolling with the impact and immediately moving despite what had to be multiple fractures. He'd fashioned splints from metal scraps and continued toward the marker location, a volcanic plateau 12 kilometers away. Vardo 7's wildlife appeared next in the footage, creatures that had evolved in an environment hostile to all foreign life. Pack hunters with acid saliva, aerial predators with electromagnetic pulse organs, and something that resembled a mobile, carnivorous plant the size of a tank. "How did you survive the rendered?" Krethix whispered, watching Marcus dive behind a boulder as one of the creatures unleashed a sonic scream that shattered nearby rock formations. "Noticed they hunted by vibration," Marcus explained. "Stayed still when they were close. Moved during the electromagnetic storms when everything was chaos." He paused. "Also, they're ambush predators. They don't expect prey to charge them." The council watched as Marcus did exactly that, sprinting directly at a rendered with a sharpened piece of metal, driving it into what he'd somehow identified as a weak point in its crystalline hide. The creature collapsed and Marcus harvested its electromagnetic pulse organ. "Needed a power source," he said matter-of-factly. "My equipment was dead." Using the organ, Marcus had powered a makeshift respirator to filter the toxic atmosphere. When volcanic vents blocked his path, he'd waited for eruption patterns and timed his crossing. When gravity fluctuations nearly crushed him into the ground, he'd crawled on his belly for hours until reaching stable terrain. The recording showed him reaching the plateau on the 3rd day, barely conscious, bleeding from countless wounds. With his last reserves of strength, he'd assembled the flagpole, driven it deep into the volcanic rock, and activated the territorial beacon. Then he'd collapsed. "You were clinically dead for 16 minutes, Dr. Vesim stated, reviewing medical data. "The rescue team found you with no pulse, no brain activity." "Human physiology is stubborn like that," Marcus said. "We don't give up easy, even when we should." Ambassador Krethix shook her head slowly. "Your species is insane. No rational being would attempt what you did." "Probably right," Marcus agreed. "But see, that's the thing about humans. We're not always rational. We're stubborn, reckless, and we absolutely refuse to accept that something can't be done just because it's never been done before." He stood, wincing slightly. His injuries were still healing. Every species that went to Vardo 7 brought their best technology, their strongest warriors, their most advanced equipment. They brought everything except the one thing that matters most. "And what is that?" Javik asked. Marcus smiled grimly. the sheer bloody-minded refusal to quit. He placed a data chip on the council table. That's my full report. Terrain analysis, wildlife behavioral patterns, survival strategies. Everything you need to establish a research outpost on Vardo 7. He turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. Oh, and Ambassador, humans aren't insane. We're just the species that looked at a universe trying to kill us and decided to kill it back. The door closed behind him, leaving the council in stunned silence. Commander Javik picked up the data chip, then looked at the holographic flag still projected above the table. Humanity's banner, planted on a world that had defeated every other species in the galaxy. Note for the record, he said quietly. Recommend extreme caution when engaging humanity in any contested territory. They don't need to be the strongest or the most advanced. He paused, staring at the recording of Marcus charging the rendered with nothing but a makeshift weapon and raw determination. They just need to want it more than death wants them. Dr. Vesim nodded slowly, reviewing the medical data again. I've analyzed his cellular structure. His species evolved on a Class 9 Deathworld. They call it Earth. Every system in their body is designed for survival against impossible odds. They're not anomalies, Commander. Then what are they? Krethix asked. The doctor looked up, his expression grave. They're what happens when a Deathworld creates predators that hunt Deathworlds. In the corridor outside, Marcus Webb limped toward the medical bay, already planning his next mission. Vardo 7 was conquered, but the galaxy was vast and humans had a reputation to build. After all, someone had to show these aliens how it was done.